Okay, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. As you know, I run this channel with my son Ollie, and we cover technology, travel, and we cover some politics as well, opinion pieces. And today I'm joined with Ziv. Now Ziv is an expat, he lives in Dongguan, and he's a very interesting guy because he's one of the only people I know, or in all my years here, actually publishes a magazine predominantly for the expat community in Dongguan. Is that right?
Kind of.
Yeah. So he's lived here for 18 or 19 years?
Yeah, between 18 to 19, yes.
So
yes.
pretty much you're the I don't know any expats who've been here that long.
Okay.
So you must have some quite interesting stories to tell. So first of all, tell me a bit about what brought you to China in the first place.
All right, so back in 2000, I went to the army for 3 years, right? From 99 to 2002. And then I went to the US, did some saving some money. And then I went to travel in India. This is a fast forward version of the story. And in India, I met a girl, my ex-girlfriend now, right? And a Brazilian girl, she was coming back to China to work in the shoe industry.
Okay.
Dongguan had a lot of Brazilians in the shoe industry. Dongguan is major on shoe production. Still major on shoe production.
Okay.
It's a big topic actually because it moved a lot to Vietnam, right? But because Dongguan was so strong, the R&D stayed in Dongguan. So companies may have factories in Vietnam, but Dongguan is
still
big
doing
in
all the
shoes.
design and R&D.
But back to the story. So she was coming to Dongguan for work. I was a young guy, 23. And I said, China, let's go. So I came to Dongguan in 2003, and I stayed there ever since.
Wow.
Now, you say that I spent a long time in China, which is true. I know some people with more years than me, but also another, I think, kind of unique thing is that I stayed all this time in one city.
Yeah, that's it. Because a lot of people do move around, don't they?
And just to finish off, today, I'm married. My wife is American for the last 15 years, and my kids were born in Dongguan.
So your kids are Chinese, really?
My kids are, they speak Chinese. If you speak with them on Chinese on the phone, you think they're Chinese. Because their the pronunciation,
it's spot on,
yeah. So they speak with Chinese, they understand Chinese. Reading and writing, they cannot get to the level of Chinese kids, that always live with Chinese, right? They were born in Dongguan, sent to Chinese kindergarten, sent to Chinese schools in the beginning. And when it became too hard, because my daughter went to middle school last year, she stayed behind too much compared with the Chinese kids, and I had to move them to an international school.
That's because you don't use English in the home, though.
We don't use Chinese, right?
Home,
We don't use Chinese at home, and it got to the point where go to school at 7-something a.m., come back at 5, go to the center to do homework.
Too much.
Come back to home at 8 or 8:30. It's just too much, right? And they need to have some childhood. So I moved them to an international school, which, it's good for them to get the international education. So for my daughter, it's kind of half until like 7th grade Chinese school and then moved to international school. My son, I think I could have kept him in a Chinese school a few more years. He's only 9, but I didn't want to split them. But
they've got a really good grounding in Chinese, and I think that would be a massive advantage.
It's huge, right? Because I think it's like, in a way, not exactly, but in a way like native.
Yeah.
Because my son went to a daycare, Chinese daycare, since he was 1. So it's
kids pick up the language really quickly, don't they?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Don't you wish we picked up the language like that?
Yeah. So what did you do when you first arrived here? Because you didn't start your magazine straight away, right?
So I started by looking for a job. I was looking for a job. I think we tried a bit trading, did a little bit of that. And then it was hard for me to find a job back then. Very young guy. And
didn't speak Chinese.
Didn't speak Chinese. And I actually almost left. After a couple of years, we had some problems with the relationship, and I couldn't find a job, and I was ready to go home reluctantly, because it's the thing of I'm already in China, like going back home with the tail between your legs, you know, it's like I didn't make it.
I failed.
Yes. And then a friend came up with this idea of having an English magazine, right?
So back then, was there many expats in Dongguan?
So in Dongguan, it was kind of starting. There was a lot of Brazilians, Americans, Germans, I guess a few thousand expats.
Oh, okay.
But you know, back then, the internet wasn't so big, right?
Sure.
And there was no WeChat. And there was nothing in English. And even Chinese people, right? Today, a lot of Chinese people can speak English.
Yeah.
And back then, less. So we didn't have anything feels like home. And it's not it's not an accident totally, right? Because I always was a creative person. I always liked to write stories since I was a teenager. And actually my dream was to be a film director, which I almost went to school for it, but then a lot of suicide bombings in Israel at that time, 2000s, and I just left. So I didn't. So my personality is to be a content creator. That's my personality. And I always loved magazines. And I thought someone brought it up because I was pointing at things in Dongguan. I was saying, hey, you know, a new store is coming here, a new coffee shop there. And you say, hey, you laughed at it. They're like, you should start some kind of a newspaper. I said, why not? So I asked my grandfather for $3,000.
Wow.
And I started it from home.
Wow.
Yes.
And was it hard? Was it difficult to get going?
Yeah, I worked very hard. First alone, you know, I wrote the whole first issue, August 2005. And what I did is I thought, this is a city guide. I based it on like Time Out, right? So, you know, I always liked Time Out. I always liked magazines before. Time Out London, right? New York, Tel Aviv has one. And I thought, okay, we need to guide. It's a city guide. It's telling people where to go, where to have fun and stuff like that. Foreigners need a lot of guidance in China, right? Back then, really. So I learned how to say, excuse me, do you have a name card? And I walked all over the city. And I looked. Every place that I thought foreigners may want to know about,
you make a note.
I took a business card. Then I hired a part-time Chinese person to help me put details on the computer, right?
So you created a database.
Yes. I created a database of foreign-friendly places with address, name, you know, indication whether they can speak English, whether they take credit card, whether they have delivery, where, you know, try to make a really...
Because we didn't have Meituan and that.
No, nothing
right?
at all. So I thought a good publication should be based on that. So this is one of the first things I did. And I made a sample and I walked again all over to try to get advertisers, right? And just to point out, you know, this is like, you know, I'm not supposed to say it's a magazine because it's not magazines by license, right? And we get by like, you know, direct media or, you know, stuff like that. But according to the government, I can't say that. So then I decided, okay, we publish once a month. We publish in the beginning of the month, and it's free, and we will give it at all those places where foreigners go to, which is like international schools and coffee shops, bars, restaurants, and very quick.
I remember at that time, sort of 14, 50s, I was in Shanghai and there was similar publications there, like
other ones. Yes, there were a few. It's a small industry in China, English publication, very small. I'm kind of curating it. I have a lot of the history of a lot of English publications in China at my office. I always try to get from other cities. Beijing, Shanghai,
I found them very useful, you know, because they pinpoint places that you would never find without seeing them in there. Oh, go and have a look at that. Oh, that's a great sandwich place or a nice coffee place or somewhere decent.
But back to your question, it was difficult for sure. And then I printed some, 1,500 the first month. And I put it all in a suitcase And I walked all over to give places. I had to explain them why, what is this. And I rented a car with the driver and went around all Dongguan to the hotels, so all the 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
And
Which is where at that time the foreigners would stay, right?
And I walked in with it, and I had to explain them why they should display it, you know? And an interesting story is Starbucks. The first Starbucks in Dongguan was opened in 2005, a couple of months after I started here. And I was there the first day they opened. There was a big line outside giving free coffee. First Starbucks in Dongguan. There are like 70 now.
Wow.
Yes. And I came in with a issue, with a magazine, and I showed them, and I said, can you please display it here? Can you distribute here? Can this be a distribution point? And they said, you probably need to pay us.
Wow.
And that was some corporate people because it was an opening day.
Yes.
And I said, well, I think it's good for you to have it here. It's serving you as much as it's serving me. People have something to read in English, you know. And after some back and forth on the email, they agreed. And then I had Starbucks, all the branches became really great distribution points for many years. But since last year, Starbucks just stopped displaying magazines. Something, you know, about no more paper, you know. These are the times now where people read less and, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah, Starbucks is an interesting one because I remember being in Shanghai. I mean, this is back in 2007, 2008. And like, you go in there and there wouldn't be many people in there at all when they first opened. Then you might get a few Chinese business people, but you'd often see other expats in there. I met expats in there because it was like their go-to kind of place. That and McDonald's, you know. You'd see many in there eating breakfast at McDonald's and Starbucks. And I've seen how they've developed over the years. I mean, many have opened, and now many of them are very busy. You know, there's a really big increase in the coffee culture here in China.
Huge. It's amazing.
We went to Shanghai and shot a video in sort of coffee shops and bakeries, and like, there's so many.
I think what happened with Starbucks is the beginning was just foreigners, and then it became like for Chinese the place to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like just sit there and be seen.
They're kind of like the Apple of the coffee world.
Yeah.
And I think their marketing strategy has been very smart here, because they've put themselves at a kind of a higher level, like in the UK and the States, it's just another coffee store.
And I think it's even maybe a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, in real terms, it's expensive. But if you take the average salary into consideration here of the West, it's very expensive here.
Very expensive.
And also I notice here there's a much bigger push on like the merchandise there. Like in the UK, you might have 1 or 2 cups. Here, there's like whole ranges. So I think they've got a very different marketing strategy here.
You can easily eat lunch for less than a latte.
Yes.
Easily.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different. And then now, recent years, Chinese became really big on coffee culture.
Yeah, it's really
like crazy. Like in Dongguan, it's. I think it's too much. I think it's a bubble now, because like really over the top, so many coffee shops.
Yeah.
Some of them are cool now. Some of them like they learned, you know, they look cool.
Yeah, there's some very kind of little boutique ones now in a lot of the big cities, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, it's surprised me. And it's here in Shenzhen, you don't see many of the older generation drinking coffee. It's more the younger people. But you know, when we're in Shanghai,
older people.
many of the older people drink coffee.
Maybe because it's been international for much longer.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. But then, you know, China changed a lot.
Where are you now with your magazine? Have you had your peak time, or is it?
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, for the printed publication, not for the brand, right? So like, so now we do videos. We based on online.
So basically, you've moved it to an online.
Right. So we were always online too, but we were thinking print first. So it's a different way to think of content, right? Content is content. You know, when you make a magazine, when you make a page, it's kind of similar to the to the video in terms of in the video what do people see first?
Yes.
How the entry point in a magazine, right? Is the picture, is the title, it's maybe the
with
big
YouTube
quote.
it's your thumbnail and your title. Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes it's the same, right? So I always say sometimes we had a great article, but we need to make people read it.
Yeah.
Or you have a great video on YouTube, you need to make people watch it.
Yeah. But you mentioned that, and I sometimes think this is part of the problem with the West's misinformation about China, because you often see some of these articles and the headline is so negative, but then you read the article and the article doesn't really back up the headline, but many people will only read the headline and then just skim the first paragraph of the article. And I find some of the media in the West are very good at sort of setting that scene in the headline and the first paragraph. And yet when you read into it, they never, so they'll make an accusation or something. And then it's all fluff later in the article because they don't actually back up anything, what they're suggesting.
So it's clickbaity.
Often. Yeah.
On a printed one too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Because really, let's be honest, they're after eyes, because eyes are money, aren't they? And that's what the publishing industry is about. It's about making money. If all your titles are sort of very mediocre, nobody's going to look at your publication. And it's got even more competitive, because you look at traditional media now, they've got a massive new competitor in social media.
Right.
So the landscape.
But I mean, it's a lot of money, you say, but it's interesting because I always thought it's a shame that the journalists don't make much money.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the top, right?
Corporates.
The corporates make the money, and the journalists don't. So remember, I asked you before about. I said I've been thinking: is journalism dead, or is just everybody's journalists nowadays?
Yeah.
So I think what happens with YouTube and everything is that if the journalists are smart and willing to change, I mean, if they know how to make good content, now they can become a publication in a way.
Yeah,
right?
Themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, old school journalists may not like this, I think. But this is the world, and you got to change with the world, right?
You have, yeah. I think it's very interesting that you do have to evolve and you do have to change. And I see that with the analogy I'd use is you look at some singers or pop people. You've got those who were here and then have gone, and then you've got those like the Elton Johns and the Madonnas, and they've adapted their music, and they're still relevant because they've changed, whereas the ones who haven't, you don't know about them anymore, you don't hear of them anymore. And I think it's the same with everything.
But for me, I think it doesn't matter. I mean, it's fun to make videos. Now I enjoy making videos now. And it goes back to my first wish anyway, to be a film director. For me, as long as you create something, with the print publication that we have, it's really great because it's tangible.
Yeah.
It's tangible every month. You walk in the city, you see someone have it in his hand, you kind of feel
good, right?
You sit in Starbucks, you see someone comes in and ask for our magazine before they ask for coffee.
Yeah.
That feels good, right?
Of course.
But it's the same, with the internet, even more now. I mean, you see the views.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, when you launch a video, and like from the stats on YouTube, within, generally, not always, but within the first hour or two whether a video is going to do good by the response it gets. And it's so nice to see. They have like a chart, and it goes in from a number 10 to a number 1, and it's so nice when you see it going at like a 1 or 2 or a 3 position. And kind of it's a little bit disheartening when you see it going at a 9 or a 10.
So there is a downside there too, right? And the whole culture lives on likes and stuff like that.
Yes.
And for you may see thousands. For new channels like mine, for example, I may be like a few hours later, 25 views.
But actually, it's all relative, because when I remember when we first had our channel, and you might get 200 views, and now you think, wow, 200 views. But now, it's the same, but like 10 or 20 times more. So you still get the same feeling.
Different levels of measurement.
It's just a different level, the bar's just moved, And what's kind of disappointing as a YouTuber is when you've put a lot of work into a video, and a lot of effort, and you've really tried to make it a good video, and it doesn't do well.
Right.
It's kind of
because you worked hard on it.
Yeah, and it's.
But what is not doing well? What? I mean, I guess, like you said, it's according to the level.
Lower than your average views.
Right.
So YouTube gives you stats where you've got an average. So anything above your average, you feel good.
Right.
Anything below your average, and you sometimes don't know why. It's just sometimes just the way it is. Just tell my audience what your channel is.
Right. So my YouTube channel is, as I say, showing China in the 21st century through the people, I often talk to different people, as like mostly expats, but sometimes Chinese too, about education in China, international education. I speak to parents about parenting third culture kids, something that's very close to my heart because my kids are third culture as well. So it's kind of fascinating for me. Those kids are growing up in China. They're different than us.
Yeah,
they will be different for good and bad, right? And I show some experiences in China, like I told you, I just shot traditional Chinese ear cleaning and stuff like that. And yeah, I have a little bit of podcasting too, in a way, talking to people. Again, I try to focus in China, but I don't do much of political commentary.
That's okay.
It's interesting to me, but I don't want to talk about something that maybe I'm not 100% sure what.
That's fair.
That's what.
What's your channel name?
My channel name is Ziv Glickman, right?
Okay.
And I recently started my channel with my son. Which called Ziv and Zen, because he's a 9-year-old. Couple of reasons. First, I think it's a good topic. He speaks Chinese. We didn't do a video about that yet. I'm going to do. But conversations with your son, it goes into this parenting education, something that interests me, and also teaches him about YouTube and making videos, because the kids watch YouTube all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to move him from just watching, which is good, which is okay, to understanding how to make these videos, or understanding about creating videos. So doing it from young age. Like you said, Ollie did some from young age.
Ollie's probably 12 or 13. I mean, he grew channel to 100,000 subscribers. It was a gaming channel.
That's quite amazing, actually. Yeah.
He was earning a lot of money when he was younger. At one point,
He was making money.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you had some good start with your channel.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the links to your channel in the description. Please go and have a look at Ziv's channel. As I say, some of his content I've watched is very professionally produced, and it's good. It's good.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
So, what's your plans for the next couple of years?
Oh, it's hard to say, right? China is changing. I honestly, this year. That's the first year I started thinking, okay, I need a plan. Maybe in a few years I need to be out of here. I've been here almost 20 years, okay? I always say that I don't know how long I'm gonna stay here, but I just say I don't wanna end my life here, After all, we are not from here, right? And, but a lot of things are changing, whether it's visa situations, whether it's some, the feeling less foreigners in China, which makes our life a bit different, right?
Yeah, I mean, COVID's been a big contributor to that, hasn't it? I've noticed that there's way less foreigners now.
I mean, I like China, obviously. I'm here for 18 years. I do enjoy it, but I think that one of the things keeping me here still, other than business, I guess, opportunities, the kids speaking Chinese, get them more into that. I don't want to leave before they can master and never go back on it, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It could be I could be back in the US in 2 years, and I could still be here in 10.
Yeah, just see what comes, right?
Yeah, I mean, making more videos. I enjoy making content. So, even if I go back, I think
make content.
Yeah, I think that's just my thing, And
cool,
and
man.
even if sometimes money is difficult, if you wake up in the morning to something you like doing, life is good.
Yeah, I mean, I've had many ups and downs financially in a lifetime, but I always like to think I'm kind of smart enough that I can do something to make money.
Right.
I've been one of these. I'm very much a person who I don't think too far ahead, because I'm one of these, you never know when your last day is.
Yeah, I think you are quite easygoing, kind of like me, and
I'd
quite
like to think
kind of
so.
always happy kind of thing.
Yeah, I have my off days, obviously, we all do, but generally I'm a pretty positive person.
I think it's a decision, you know, we wake up in the morning. I think we are lucky. I think most people in the world go to work and do something they don't like, or even worse, hate their jobs. You know, and they may make more money than us. But
well, I have a bit of a story. So when I was younger, I had a business in the UK which was fairly successful, and I thought things were going to last forever. And I have this phrase now: nothing lasts forever. But the market changed, and the business started to get into difficulty after a number of years. And I got to the point where I really disliked going into the office, and I don't ever want to be in that position again, you know. Like doing YouTube sometimes is really hard work, you know. Sometimes you're on the road a lot and you're living out of a suitcase in a hotel for a while, but that then is rewarded when you come back, you make a good video, you upload it, gets a good response,
you have comments, you have support, you have love,
and it's really nice to I mean, when I sort of told my community I had cancer, I was just absolutely overwhelmed with the messages of support. I couldn't imagine in my wildest dreams I would get that much support, and that like blew me away, man.
Yeah, that shows you what people think about you.
And I just wasn't expecting that. I knew we built up a community, and a lot of people like watching our stuff, but I was just absolutely blown away by the amount of good wishes and help from people. And many people shared their very intimate stories of their own battle with
you were vulnerable,
like
you opened up, you know, you're not hiding anything, you're like talking to them like family, right?
Well, I hope by sharing the videos of my experience that I can help other people who may have to go through that
I think so, yeah.
future.
I think you
I really
I think you
so,
do.
yeah.
I think you do. Yeah.
Well, I will put the links down in the description of your channel.
Yeah, please do.
Please go and have a look at Zif's channel.
Help me grow and subscribe and like my videos.
Yeah.
If you like it.
Thank you very much for joining me today. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, man.
We've spoke for a long time, but it's the first time we've met in person, and it's been a great afternoon. I've
very
really
easy to talk
enjoyed
to.
it. And as always, if you do like the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. But as always, for now, take care.
Bye-bye.